Aloha. With this video, I thought I'd do a quick rundown or overview of the couple of episodes I watched on Bill Nye's Save the World Season 2 Netflix thing. I didn't really watch, I don't think, any of the Season 1 because I could not get through them. I could not. It was so cringe-worthy. It was just I couldn't get through it. It was hard enough to get through these. Worse than any other horrible movie is watching Bill Nye talk about science as if it's some kind of like superhero or something. But anyway, the point being is that I watched two of them. I watched the first one, which was focusing on global warming, and then I went through the rest of the episodes and found the one where they were talking about Mars. And the first one was global warming, talking about, oceans rising, and people who listen to this channel, they know what's up. I don't want to make this video too long. I don't want to really get into it too much. I just wanted to share with people just these little two things that I saw that are a big part of the mechanism of control that this system is designed for us to trap ourselves within. So the entire setup of the heliocentric universe is basically bombarded into our reality by the so-called powers that be to keep us from understanding who and what we are. So just like Alan Watts explained in reference to having to go outside, go out in nature for a while. This is some of the things that some of the Buddhists do and some of the other cultures do, and shaman do this. Shaman, before you become a shaman, you go out by yourself and you go live in the rainforest by yourself. You don't think of any words, you don't speak any language, you don't do anything. You're just out there to really find out who and what you were before you were born, like what goes on there. So it's almost kind of like going into a psychedelic trip of, you don't really have control of anything. Like anybody who takes ayahuasca or shrooms or DMT, when you go into that space, you're not in control. You are there, though. There's a presence of you there. What's going on there? Science has not at all tried to entertain because it's a threat to the entire system. But you yourself can see something's going on there, and it involves more of who and what you are. You come out of an ayahuasca experience feeling like, this is my own personal observations. Coming out of an ayahuasca experience felt almost like sleeping for 10 years, like the rest that you would get for something like 10 years of sleep. So you get rest of, you get the rest by relieving yourself of a lot of the density that wasn't there. You also get kind of like a rebooting of yourself by being in a space for an average of like 5 hours where you're not really there. You're not in control. You're there, but you're not in control. Like in reference to what Alan Watts was talking about, the reasons why you have to go out into the wilderness and be there by your own, on your own, is because that's the only way you're going to be able to find out who and what you are. Because what the society, the so-called Western civilization, is designed to do is to bombard you with distractions. So even your name is a distraction. Your body is a distraction. Your desires are distractions. Your family, your friends, like all of this can be taking it to the extreme of, finding out who and what you are. Like he was saying, like these systems remind you of who you are, like your peers. So like old school friends, they remind you of who you were. So if you're still friends with people who haven't changed too much, they still interact with you based upon who you were and who they are right now. So if they haven't changed too much, they're still resonating with who you were. So they'll invite you into that space. That's an extreme version of it. Another version of that is constantly being bombarded by that same kind of mechanism that has no concern with who you are before you were born, or no concern with who you are outside of the status quo of who you are. Like you look like this, you act like this, you speak like this, you have these values, you have these beliefs, you like this, you do this, you go here, you go there. Like these are all the things that make up who you are in the world of chaos and distraction and bombardment. So when you're in a world that's designed to maintain that distraction, you'll have a world eventually of people who don't know who and what they are. They have zero understanding of what's going on from a soul level, from a spiritual perspective of, who and what they are. And that's beneficial to a mind control program that needs to reboot your entire consciousness to perceive a reality from a universe that they have generated out of thin air, pretty much. Because once they have generated, before they can generate a universe that you can believe yourself into, you have to be beat down enough. You have to be abused enough. You have to be separated from yourself, your family, your culture, your people, the land, nature. You have to be separated from all of those things that empower you before you can start adopting a new universe and inherently adopting a new God. So the centuries upon centuries that predate today were the mechanisms used to beat us down, the mechanisms that were used to keep people in line. So this is why, for people who don't really understand where I'm coming from in reference to tying in racism, psychological mind control programs, society as a whole, for people who don't understand where I'm coming from in that space, you can understand it more so when it's laid out like that. Like the system needs to break you down. It needs to break you down so much. It's like breaking a stallion or something, or breaking like in the Stockholm syndrome, when a kidnapper kidnaps a child or an adult, they have to break them in order to make them submissive to whatever it is, the world that they've invited them into. So if they've kidnapped them for like 2 years or whatever, the first 2 weeks are going to be difficult because people are going to be like still trying to escape and hold on. After like 6 months, like you're basically another person. You've adopted a new reality, a new world, a new universe. This world where this individual has set up for you a cage. This world that we're living in right now is a universal cage. And the more you buy into that Stockholm Syndrome universe, the easier it will be to sell in new versions of control. So you have to be beat down day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, for centuries, for many generations, before they hit that point, where they hit that point of openness, of helplessness, hopelessness, weakness. When you hit that point, that's when you can start installing new versions of reality for that individual. And that's what the system has understood with the consciousness of people. So this is why you have the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, all of these systems that are out there that are obviously harmful to reality. They're harmful to people, but you can't question anything about that. You can't say anything about it because why? You're hopeless. You're helpless. They are the gods and kings over you because it's been going on for so long. So that's basically like step one. Step two is once you get people down, you have to give them something. So what allows people to shift from that fighting back aspect of the early stages of like kidnapping and in the Stockholm syndrome, what keeps people from fighting is when you give them something. So you give them food, you give them water, you start becoming their friend, you start becoming close with them, you start making yourself look more human or less like whatever it is that they think you are. And then now you're starting to introduce the individual into the controlled universe. The thing is, once they get into that space, they are so many degrees of separation from what I mentioned earlier about an individual going out in the wilderness and finding themselves. They're 3 or 4 or 5 degrees of separation from even having that ability. In fact, they've created another version of themselves. And that's exactly what this system is doing. As soon as you're born, you're given a version of yourself that has nothing to do with you, your soul, your spirit, and has everything to do with the indoctrination of this society. So once the indoctrination of this society becomes your universe, it's a slim to none chance in hell that you'll ever be able to break free from that system. So this is why the system, the so-called powers that be, they don't care about time. They got all the time in the world because it's the people who are buying into these programs. It's the people who are accepting this. And they got a gas tank that's full. Look at it as like a gas tank. The ignorance, the apathy, the Stockholm syndrome reactions of slaves is the status quo of people who believe in the mainstream media, who believe in scientism, who believe in this reality that's been projected to us through the television, through colonialism, through all of the systems that are designed to beat you down or mind control you. Everybody's been locked into it in some kind of way or another based upon the way their parents, previous generations, were bought into it. And each generation, it has something that takes away and something that is given to them by the system. So the generation of the hippie kids in the 60s, they hit that peak of injustice and called themselves revolting and doing all this stuff. So what did the system do? It gave you the Civil Rights Act. It gave you something to be proud of. The same way we can understand, like in the generation before that, the greatest generation, they call it. And that's another mind control program. The greatest generation? Why? Because what? Why would you call that the greatest generation? Well, the industrial age and so on and so forth. But that's a mind control program because they'll never allow you to start questioning the reality of this society as a whole and the history. The very fact that they called that generation the greatest generation, that is the bar. The bar has been set. And the bar that's been set has been set within a mind control program. So every generation after that is a failure. Once you have the greatest generation, that means we are in control. We are the smartest. We are the best. We set up everything. Everything else is just going to be something else. So this is how these programmers hold on to your mind, your consciousness, your power, and don't allow you to break free from that. Simultaneously giving you doggy treats to dumb you down, make you more apathetic, and suck you into believing that they have some kind of concern for you. They don't. You are a pet at best. Excuse me. You are nothing. You are more of a problem than you are any kind of benefit to this system, especially if you start thinking and asking questions. So today's version of the stuff that they give to you is stuff like global warming, like they're fighting climate change. So they have to constantly play that world over and over and over again. And if you believe people like Bill Nye, if you believe into that world, like just watch one of those shows. If you can make it through one of those shows, it's only a matter of time before that stuff just completely crashes and burns. Like if you ask me, it already has. When you see people like Bill Nye, he's basically a child. He's a teenager. At best, he's a man-child. And he's speaking to the man-children of the world from a perspective of fact. These are factual things that he's coming up with. And he said, oh, I'm going to save the world. And I've been, this is so real, it's so factual that Netflix has given me a television show to explain this. So, now that he's out there in your face, what is he actually going to say? What is he going to present to you that is your reality? They're going to do the same things they've been always selling. They're going to double down on everything they've been selling. So climate change, obviously, right out the gate, season 2, 2018. What do we need to talk about? Oh, these dummy climate change deniers and people who are trying to save the world, like Bill Nye and all my friends, like Veritasium, like that whole shit. They pride themselves in that garbage. And in the same moment, your lockdown, your pride, your reality is sucked into that garbage. So they have one thing he actually said in that I can't remember which show it was. He said something. He said to use the term false fact, and he immediately said, "Oh yes, this is a joke. False fact. It's just, ha 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 ha." But the thing is, that's exactly the terminology that could explain all of the stuff that they're putting out in your world. A false fact. They're selling you these facts. So in reference to, what was it? Panspermia. So that's the second episode. Panspermia. Bill Nye set up that whole episode talking about Mars and traveling to Mars and life on Mars and how life got on Earth. And the main thing that they were talking about was panspermia. And basically panspermia was an asteroid came out of nowhere, hit Mars, and when it hit Mars, a piece of Mars popped off of Mars and hit us on Earth. And that piece had life on it. And that life seeded the rest of the world today. Just like they said, well, the dinosaurs were here and they're not here anymore because a giant asteroid came and killed them all. Like, you can see how they're creating all of these false facts to make you believe into their false universe. And they play these word games where you're more focused on the entertainment of it, and you don't really listen to what they're saying because you trust them. You trust that system. You trust Netflix. You trust Dave Chappelle. You trust Bill Nye. You trust Joe Rogan. You trust Michio Kaku. You trust all these people because the system trusts them. The system has put them in your face and said, look, not only do we trust them, but they are the foremost authority on the facts of your universe. The jacked up thing about that is their facts are theories. And their theories have always been theories. But the way they present it to you is fact. So this panspermia nonsense that was in there is no different than gravity. Gravity being sold to you as the fix it all. It's a fix all for everything. If you got a question about this, this, and this, gravity is going to be involved in it in some kind of way. So when you have all of these different theories and ideas of your universe, they just exist as theories. But when you have an individual that the system itself trusts telling you about these theories and presenting it as a fact, but still, saying this is a theory very slyly, very quickly. 1% of it is them saying this is a theory. 99% of their reality or their entertainment, their show, is presenting to you as a fact. So you download this information as factual. So now you believe in gravity, you believe in dinosaurs, you believe in panspermia, you believe in the heliocentric universe inherently from all of that. Now what? What's the next step? Well, now that they've trapped you in a world of nothingness where you're just floating around, you have no meaning and no purpose, you have no connection with anything, any kind of spiritual, non-physical reality. Once they've done that, they've broken you down. Now they can install a new reality. Now they can install transhumanism. They can install simulation theory. They can install whatever else they're trying to tell you about, how they can make a profit off of illusions and theories. So this panspermia thing, I just wanted to put it out there so people can see another thing that's being used out there against the people. And I might go back and look at some other episodes to see what they're talking about, but I think that was enough for this video. And it's just this one little thing. They really have anything, and ultimately it's a matter of time. When you look at Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, like if Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson were to come to Jack London Square in Oakland, downtown Oakland, and sit down and have a conversation with like some smart ass people from Oakland, they would look stupid. Like if some people from the town were just, and this is anywhere, I'm just saying it because I know how people would speak to people. We're not going to sit around and just listen to you because you have like medals on your chest from being on television. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like your rank doesn't matter if you were to come to our neck of the woods. Bill Nye, that motherfucker, he don't matter. Like that shit doesn't matter. It only matters in the illusory universe where their theories are facts. And they present those facts as the end all be all of your reality. The thing is, it's so many people that are already seeing through that nonsense. Like when you see Bill Nye and what was that, Rachel Bloom, like they're playing the same old doggy tricks that they've been playing. And even in the last season, it's the same garbage, the same nonsense. And they're really running out of information. Every time they put something out there, they're exposing themselves. So this series that he's put out there, you can see how fake it is. It's just him exposing himself, exposing the system and how it works, and ultimately it's a matter of time. And on the other side of that, if you believe these people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you believe them, that's because your consciousness has no other way of experiencing your reality. There's no other thing for you to do other than to believe snake oil salesmen like Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Michio Kaku. You can't do anything else. You literally can't think for yourself until you break through all of that density. See, a lot of this stuff goes into generations upon generations, and there's like hopelessness there because it's not so much about like what it is you're doing. It's like how you're doing it and why you're doing it. So people talking about global warming, they're talking about what we need to do. They're not talking about how supposedly global warming came to be or why it's such a big deal, or they're sure as hell ain't going to go into the how and whys of heliocentrism being a total farce. They need you to focus on water rising in Venice and you know, beaches on the East Coast or islands completely disappearing because global warming, and when water heats up it expands and it makes the tides get higher and higher, and you should be afraid of this. So no different than they make you afraid of North Korea or Libya, Gaddafi in Libya, or Syria or anything else. The scientism community does the same thing with asteroids and the alien agenda and all this other stuff about climate change and global warming, talking about, you know, if we don't do anything about this, we're going to get hit by a nuclear weapon, like the same from North Korea, if we don't do anything about it. So the same thing goes for asteroids. If we don't get a bunch of tax money and make a laser to destroy a possible asteroid that could be coming to destroy us, if we don't do that, we'll perish. So if you're going to believe in that stuff, by all means, do it. But it's only a matter of time before that stuff gets revealed. They're basically reverse engineering the origins of bullshit. Anytime they're talking about panspermia, the heliocentric universe, asteroids, dinosaurs, they basically said, okay, we have stuff here. We have elements here. We have life here, wherever here is. In their eyes, it's this globe floating in the middle of nowhere with nothing. So how did this get here? They basically just start making shit up. Oh, panspermia, the Big Bang, gravity, relativity. They just make all this stuff up based upon walking backwards from where we are right now. So this is where evolution theory comes in. And that's basically how the whole system keeps people in check. It's like, well, how could you not believe this? It's obviously that we evolved from dinosaurs and monkeys. How could you not believe this? Look, I can drop this thing, and that's gravity right there. How could you not believe this? Look at the stars, look at the sun, look at the moon. How could you not believe that we are also living on a globe? Like that's how they make you believe into this reality. And it's not so much about like you believing into it because, oh, it's just them lying. No, it's because of the power grid that surrounds itself with those ideas, and the power grid that uses those ideas to maintain psychological mind control over the masses. That's largely what it boils down to. And this whole, like, I mean, obviously they are panspermia. This patriarchal program is, everything is about explosions. So like everything, like, oh yeah, the dinosaurs were hit by an asteroid, explosions, fear, Mars, even life on Earth possibly came from Mars, life on Mars. And the way it got here is because an asteroid exploded into Mars and shot like sperm across the universe into our Earth, our globe Earth. And the rest is history. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. People are going to believe that, like little kids. You're basically, that's what it really boils down to. The child mind. If you are not able to allow yourself to critically think, then you will be subjected to mind control programmers selling you snake oil of the universe. And there's nothing else anybody else can do about that scenario, that situation for that individual or large groups of people. So what's happening is you're having the divide between people who will accept that nonsense, those false fact reality universes, or people who are going to critically think for themselves and like go out into that forest by themselves and find themselves outside of all the clutter, outside of all the chaos. Those are the two worlds that are being presented to people right now. And you have people like Joe Rogan. He don't give a shit. He's like the most complex version of people who don't think for themselves. It's like an intellectual idiot That's exactly what Joe Rogan is. An intellectual idiot because he does not have one thought that's his own. None. Everything that he prides himself in is based upon this Western so-called civilization and everything, every theory, everything that came from it. He's like a little kid who's running around with all his toys, showing it off to people. And in his case, his toys are the information of this society. And he's being used by the society, by the mind controllers, to maintain that sort of a Happy Meal mentality. So if people are going to believe people like Joe Rogan, a fake ass person like that, man, go on about your business. Go ahead and do it. You got nothing else to do. If you want to follow Joe Rogan, simple, fake ass, hey, that's what you're going to do. If you're going to watch Bill Nye and take it from entertainment to actual fact to truth, hey, if you watch that show, like it was disgusting. If you watch that show and you think that's facts, those are facts and truth, then hey, that's on you. Great. And that's the thing. It's not to say that everything that they're saying is a lie. Of course, that's not the case. And don't be so simple for people going to get in the comment section with all of these scientism protectors. The thing is, like I said earlier, they got to give you some of the sweet with the sour. They're not going to just give you sour forever. No, they got to hide the sour and give you the sweet constantly. But that sour has never been proven. It's only theory. But to you, you think it's a fact because you believe into their world. The thing is, there's more and more people who are starting to see that universe for the bullshit that it is. And there's more and more people who are starting to think for themselves. The thing is, you're still going to have people who are going to love that universe. They're going to love and cherish that universe. And they're going to defend it to their last breath. And that's what I was saying earlier. That's actually the status quo right now. That gas tank is not full with critical thinkers. That gas tank of this reality is full of false facts and people who interpret their reality from a perspective of a false fact. So that's basically the fork in the road. People who are going to continue to defend these false facts or start to challenge themselves to critically think on their own, go out into that forest. And then not literally what I'm saying. I mean, people could do that too. But in a sense of the first step before you actually literally go out into that forest by yourself to find yourself is to realize that there is a part of you, a deeper part of you that needs to be found. But you can't find that. You don't know you don't think that's not you. You are whatever the system has told you to be. So you have no responsibility to your true self to go do anything, to go think anymore. Because the system has set up so many mechanisms that pass off the illusion of, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. And that's it. It's the end. Here's your beginning. Here's your middle. Here's your end. Do not ask any more questions. If you ask any more questions, you're a kook. You're a quack. You're not part of our crew. And you might as well just go on about your business with all those other crazy people. So we're called crazy because we think for ourselves and actually question our reality. And the people who are not crazy in that world are people who just blindly accept everything that's promoted by these genocidal, psychopathic, sociopathic maniacs who have been pushing their power and control grid onto the populace for centuries, generations upon generations. And they're very intelligent. It's very intelligent. Of course, they're not going to give you lie after lie after lie. They got to paint it. They got to paint that poison. They got to paint it with some kind of cake or some kind of sweet, sugary thing to make it go down. So you're looking at it and you pick it up. You put it in your mouth. Even when it's in your mouth, it tastes sweet. Ooh, this is delicious. Man, I knew this made a lot of sense. Look how happy I am. Look at this sugar high I got. Look, we're all happy. We all got our sugar pills. Look at this, is wonderful. This is delicious. Man, those crazy conspiracy theorists and people who are talking about flat earth and all, they don't know what they're missing. This scientism is sweet. I'm going to swallow it. And then they swallow it. What happens in the stomach? The core that is all of those theories, all of that emptiness is a poison. And yes, it went down sweet. But as soon as it hits your core, that's when it's going to turn into a poison. But you won't know it. You'll just think something's going on. Oh, why do I feel so bad? It can't be that sweet, wonderful candy I had earlier. It must be in my genetics. It must be this. Oh, doctor, tell me what's going on. Oh, well, it's this. It's possibly this, and this. So let's just get you on this medication. So you start taking more medication, more sweet pills, more poison to cover up the original poison that separated you from yourself, your family, nature, this reality in the first place. So as soon as you're out the womb, they put that sugar pill in your mouth. And it takes an entire lifetime a lot of the times for people to get that trash out of their bodies. And some people don't do it because they love sugar. They're addicted to this false fact reality. Why? Because people are addicted to being a part of something. People are addicted to being just like everybody else, a part of the cool crowd. And they bully you into that, just like regular bullies in high school. They'll bully you into it. And this is the job of people like Michio Kaku, Richard Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Bill Nye. And they use their television shows, Joe Rogan too. They use their television shows to bully you. And once you're in that space, you're faced with that choice. Are you going to think for yourself? Are you going to stand outside of the cool crowd and start questioning your reality? What are you going to do? There's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to love that world, that fake reality. They're going to love that fake reality, or they're going to think for themselves. It's going to be a smaller percentage that are actually going to think for themselves, because the majority of people, they need that. It's been so long. So that's what I wanted to share with this video. I just wanted to break down this whole, like, the design, the style of how they're locking people into this reality, and some of the little topics that they're using to keep people. Apologies again, or I didn't apologize in the first place, but apologies for my sounding a little stuffy nose right now. But I had to do this video right now. It was just eating away at me because of this whole, it was just ridiculous. I had to get that, like, after watching those two, excuse me, after watching those two Bill Nye episodes, I was just like, oh my goodness, I got to get this off my chest right now. So that's pretty much it. So thank you for joining me. If you're interested in seeing how the mechanisms work, watch those seasons. Start breaking down people who make videos. Start breaking down those episodes, because that's like the fresh stuff. That's why they put it out in the new year. They want to bombard people with, like, they know people are in, like, new beginnings, like new things. So that means new information, new versions of themselves. This is why people, like, I'm cutting people off. I'm going to be this new version of myself. Well, that entails new information. So what do they do when people are in that space? Well, they make available more information. And it's not a coincidence that this season 2 of Bill Nye is coming out right at that time frame. Same thing goes for Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these other people doing interviews and all that other nonsense. They got to keep you buying into that world. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.